Today I'm going to be talking about the Trecena of Kan. So I've come down to the park again. I decided that after last time it was a bit shaky on the video, so I thought I'd sit still again this time. But I'm here underneath this beautiful tree in the autumn in the park, and it seems like a nice environment to talk about the Trecena of Kan. So what's the Trecena of Kan about? Well, we can start by thinking about what does the Nawal Kan represent? And we can see it representing wisdom, we can see it representing teaching, we can see it representing power as well. All three of those things can we can see as being the body lightning within each one of us, our life force energy, our creative force. So it has that creativity. It can also be something which helps us to see through illusions, help them to overcome them. Can also create illusions and seduce as well. It's up to us what we choose to use that power that each of us carries for, whether we use it to enlighten those around us, whether we share our wisdom, or whether we keep it to ourselves and try to keep that power to ourselves. So these may be things that come up during the Trecena of Kan for us to address and to be addressed in the world around us. So we're going to begin the Trecena of Kan with the day 1 Kan. So the number 1 representing birth and beginnings. This can be obviously this is the birth of the Trecena. This is the beginning of something new. And when we're connecting it with Kan, we could see this as new wisdom coming to us. We could see this as a new teaching coming to us, a new form of empowerment, a new journey that we might undertake to understand better the knowledge that we hold, because I see Kan as the transformation from knowledge into wisdom. So it's something very important, something very interesting that happens during this Trecena as we bring that knowledge forwards, transform it into wisdom, and possibly share it with others around us, teach it to those people around us, to help to bring our whole environment, our whole community into empowerment. So 1 Kan gives us the opportunity to step into that new wisdom, to step into a new form of empowerment, maybe to learn or to teach something new. From 1 Kan, we then move into 2 Kame. Kame representing the connection with the ancestors. We can also see Kame representing overcoming our fears. It's about going through our challenges, leveling up, the alchemy of the soul, as I like to call it. Takes us to the next level, and we get to that next level by overcoming our fears. Now we see it here combined with the number 2. The number 2, which can represent relationships, but it can also represent choices. It can represent decisions to be made. And if we're seeing those two things together, kind of like looking at it saying, right, okay, maybe it's a day on which it becomes very, very apparent that it's time to face a fear, which of course is going to bring you empowerment during this Trecena of Kan. Now, one of the things that I would say about the number 2 is obviously it's binary in nature. It's ones or zeros, it's left or right. It's taken our number of choices down to, 1 or 0. And it may well say, well, this is kind of like, this is one of the fears that you may be like needing to face in order to move up a level in your wisdom. Do you want to choose it? Yes or no? Okay, and so maybe something comes up for you to make a choice. Am I ready to face this? Yes or no? Am I ready to go through this? Yes or no? And it can also be within relationships, of course, with the number 2, maybe facing fears within them, and equally kind of like asking for the blessings of your ancestors on particular relationships as well. From 2 Kame, we then move to 3 Kech. So Kech, the Nawal of the wilderness. Kech, the Nawal of the animal kingdom. Our connection with nature, with the natural world. And here we see it with the number 3. Now, I'd always suggest that Kech days are days to, go out and connect with the natural world, go out and connect with what form of wilderness or at least nature you have around you, wherever you might find it. And here we see it with the number 3. Now, the number 3 can often represent home, so, kind of like connect with the wilderness in your garden if you have one. Might be a good thing to do on number 3 day. But we can also see it as recognizing the internal work. This is looking for the wilderness within you, maybe even looking for your wild self, as it were. Might be a very good exercise for the 3 Kech day. Because that's, in this Trecena of Kan, maybe that's where you're going to find your power. Now, the other thing that I would suggest for the 3 Kan day, that 3 can be quite inward facing. And so, whereas many other of the days, it's like a case of like go to the wilderness with your friends, with your family, with your community or whatever, maybe 3 Kech, the better use of that day would be for kind of like a solo walk within the wilderness, to go and hear what your inner wilderness has to bring out. Now, Kech is also connected with spiritual leadership. And one of the things that I would see with 3 Kech is that the 3 can sometimes represent external blockages and obstructions. So it's kind of like blockages and obstructions to the connection with the spiritual leader on the outside, which once again would suggest that 3 Kech is a great day to find that spiritual leader within yourself. From 3 Kech, we then go into 4 Anil. Anil being the harvest, bringing things to their ripeness, bringing things to their maturity. After our time working on whatever it is that we needed to work on, here's Anil bringing us the ripeness of our project, our plans, our plants in our garden, whatever it might be. And so, of course, it's joyful. It's about abundance. It's about receiving, the fruits of our labor. That's what I can see with Anil. It's bringing us to ripeness as well as what's around us. And so it can be a joyful day. It can be a very beneficial day to bring things to their fruition. And here we see it with the number 4, representing the physical plane of existence. This is coming to material ripeness. This is certainly the day to, let's say, finish things off, your plans, your ideas, to go and harvest from your garden. Perhaps at this time of year, it might be the last harvest that you might take. This is a time when we're celebrating harvest, at least kind of in the temperate northern hemisphere anyway. And so, 4 Anil can very much be giving thanks for what you have received in your harvest physically. It's a day to physically collect the abundance that comes from bringing your projects, plans, and fields to maturity. From 4 Anil, we then go into 5 Toch. So, of course, Anil followed by Toch, the receiving of the abundance followed by the giving. Toch, our opportunity to give something back. Toch, our opportunity to make our offering, to make our payment for all that we've received. And here we see it with the number 5, the number which represents work. Now, that work, I often see, when we say that we've got to work on something, it means we've got to put our energy into it. And so here, we could see with 5 Toch, we've got to put our energy into that which we're giving. Toch can represent service to our community, service to the family, the people around us. And so this is about us really putting our energy into it in whichever way you choose to. So obviously going out and physically using your energy to give back something to your community, to your friends, to your family, this is a wonderful thing to do. Now, I would always say, of course, if you have the opportunity, if you have the resources to do so, I know that everybody's starting to feel the crunch at the moment and that kind of thing, but certainly there are other people around that will do as well. And organizations like Odin can do some very good things with the donations that they receive. I was recently also sent a very interesting link. For those of you who've followed me for a few years, you may remember me talking a long time ago about the Nimahai project. Well, the Nimahai project is now called the Popolhai, and this is a project by a group of elders in Peten to create a wisdom depository, as it were. a place where they can share their wisdom, a place where that wisdom can be preserved, passed on to next generations, where their understanding of plant medicine and the Maya cosmovision can be held, preserved, detailed, written down, basically what's going to preserve the culture that exists in Guatemala. So they're now in a position, due to the various infrastructure changes within the country, where it's possible to make a donation. And so I'm going to share a link for a GoFundMe run by some of their Swiss partners to help to make the Popol Vuh a reality. In this Trecena of Kan, talking about wisdom, talking about the sharing of wisdom, talking about empowerment, I think that the Popol Vuh might be an excellent project to make your 5 toch donation on, should you wish to. From 5 toch, we're then going to move into 6 Tz'i. So Tz'i, the Nawal of faith, loyalty, the Nawal of justice and law, the Nawal of unconditional love, and we see it here connected with the number 6, the number which represents the family, the number which represents ultimate stability. So we can see it working in 2 ways. This could be the ultimate stability that comes about through your faith and loyalty. It might be the ultimate stability that can come in through unconditional love, and particularly unconditional love within your family. It can work like the other way around as well, helping to understand how the unconditional love of our family that comes to us from our family brings us stability, helps to keep us, reminds us of where we want to put our faith, where we want to put our love, and where we want to put our trust. 6 Tz'i can be seen as a highly beneficial day to bring stability, to have faith in our ability to bring it, because sometimes, especially, the last few years, seems like there are certain circumstances which are spiraling so far out of our control that we start to feel at the mercy of it. 6 Tz'i helps us to stabilize our trust again, helps us to remember, hey, hang on, we have the power. We have the power when we choose to put our unconditional love into things. We have the power to bring them into stability. And so, in sitting almost in the middle of this Trecena of Kan, this Trecena of power and wisdom, this helps us to understand the stability that can come when we apply our unconditional love, our faith, and our trust in things. So 6 Tz'i, if there is a certain area of your life where you need your trust enhanced, as it were, if you need to remember what comes from unconditional love, 6 Tz'i is a good day to be examining that area of your life. From 6 Tz'i, we're then moving into 7 bats. Bats, the Nawal of creativity, the Nawal of the weaving, and the number 7 representing the end, representing old. Now, we're going to go into this sequence. It will start with 7 bats. 20 days later, we will have 1 bats, and 20 days after that, we'll have 8 bats. 8 bats, the day of initiation, the day of passing the baton. 1 bat's the day of new creation, 7 bats the day of the old creation. Now, that initiation I see as 7 bats, the old weaving, 1 bat's the new weaving, and 8 bats bringing the 1 and the 7 together. And so, when we look at it from that point of view, we can see that 7 bats is about finishing off the old creation. It's about finishing off whatever we've been working on for the last 240, 220, 260 days, however long it might be. It's about coming to a point where we're finishing off whatever it is that we've been working on creatively. So it's a great day for doing that. Now, the 7, I often see it as, as we get to the top of the pyramid, day, 7th day, this is a time to be looking forward to what we want to create next as well. It's finishing something off and getting our understanding of where we want to go next, what we want to create next. So 7 bats could be a good idea or a good day for getting those ideas into practice, for finishing off your creative project and getting an idea about what you want to go on to next. From 7 bats, we then move to the ceremonial day of this Trecena, which is 8 So, as I talk to you on this day 13 Cat, the last day of the Trecena, we're now going to be talking about 8 in the Kan Trecena. This is to give thanks for our journey. The discoverer, the explorer, the one who is here to experience everything that can possibly be experienced, to use their body to really explore this world. That's what is here to do. And as we go through, we know that there are some experiences that we've loved and we've really enjoyed, and there are other experiences that quite often, quite honestly, we could have done without, right? But they're all part of our experience. They're all important and necessary steps along our path. We might not know why yet. We might have really wished that they hadn't have happened in quite that way, but they have. 8 helps us to understand how to integrate all experience. And of course, this being within the Trecena of Kan, it's our wisdom that comes from that experience. And sometimes, it's the school of hard knocks that teaches us the most, right? 8 is a day to celebrate your path. It's a day to celebrate your journey and all the experiences that have come along with it. From 8 we're then going to move into 9 Now, I have a particular soft spot for 9 being one of the most masculine nawals of all, and the number 9 being the number of the feminine. And so this brings forwards this idea for me of kind of like rounding the corners of as it were. Represents our spinal column. It represents authority, and it can be seen particularly as representing masculine authority. It literally means he of. It's the day of the father. But here we see it connected with the number 9, which brings femininity into it. So this is a day for the celebration of feminine leadership. This is a day to stand up strong. The can also represent our spinal column that helps us to be brave, to stand tall, to stand up for what is necessary and for what is right, to stand up for those people who don't have a voice. And so as we see 9 in particular gives us this opportunity to stand up perhaps for the women in our community, to stand up and acknowledge the female leaders within our community. This is a day to bring them forward. From 9 we then move into 10 Ish. So we've gone from the father of the community to the mother of the community. Ish representing the feminine. Ish representing our connection with Mother Earth. Ish representing our connection with the sacred spaces, the shrines and the altars. Bringing out our magic through our connection with the Mother Earth. And here we see it with the number 10. The number 10 represented by the 2 hands coming together in cooperation, in society, community. And so what we see here is getting our community together in order to look after Mother Earth, in order to celebrate Mother Earth. So 10 Ish would be a wonderful day to go out and create a community litter pick, as it were, to go and look after our environment. 10 Ish would also be a really good day to get together, to clean up any sacred spaces around us, to reconnect our community with the spirit of Mother Earth, and to make prayers to Mother Earth, asking for what is needed within our community, what's going to help to strengthen our community, what's going to help to strengthen our village, our society. These are the offerings, or these are, kind of what we make the offerings for at the altars on 10 Ish. From 10 Ish, we're then going to move to 11 Tz'ikin. Tz'ikin being the Nawal of focus, being the Nawal of prosperity, and here seen with the number 11. Now the number 11 is a high and odd number, and that high and odd number may well bring in some unusual twists and turns during the day. The 11 often asks us to go with our intuition, but we may find that our intuition takes us in many different directions that we weren't expecting to follow. And so we can't really set an idea for an 11 day, because we kind of have to go with what comes along with us. Now, Tz'ikin can be very much about vision. And in some ways, Tz'ikin can be very, very focused. In other ways, Tz'ikin might be very distracted. And I would suggest and imagine that 11 Tz'ikin days may well be a day on which we may find ourselves very, very distracted. It's like the visions are coming from all sides. It's like kind of like we're seeing this, we're seeing that, we're seeing this, kind of like it is very strong. And it might not be the best day to be focusing on one thing. It's a day to allow ourselves to follow our intuition, to follow our senses and see where our vision takes us. Might be a great day to make a vision board or something like that and just allow what comes into focus to come into focus. So for 11 Tz'ikin, I would say, yes, it's not this day to be very, very focused on one thing, because you may just find that distractions come along. But allow yourself to take in that breadth of vision and see what little bits of inspiration come from each place that you look. From 11 Tz'ikin, we then move into 12 Ajmak. So as we're coming to the conclusion, or coming towards the conclusion of this Trecena, of course we go through one of the most important lessons that we can imagine. Ajmak representing forgiveness, representing acceptance, representing for ourselves and others to let go of the grudges, the blame, or the shame, or the guilt, anything like that. Stuff that we've been holding on for too long. Now, I said that this Trecena is about wisdom. Said that it's about dropping the illusions, right? Or seeing through the illusions. And when I see this with the Ajmak, it's like, well, kind of like in order for us to come into our power, help others to come in their power, we just got to accept ourselves and others for exactly who we are. We got to drop, we got to forgive things, drop things, so that we can actually focus on what's really important. And we see it combined with the number 12. And so 12 Ajmak, the number 12 representing our whole life experience, bringing all of our life experiences together. So 12 Ajmak really kind of seems to suggest to me that we're looking at things like really having a life review and understanding maybe some things from your past that we're still holding on to. Maybe some things that we should have dropped a long time ago. We should have forgiven somebody else, or we should have forgiven ourselves, or we should have asked for forgiveness about that a long time ago. But we've allowed it to kind of like sit in our consciousness, even if we aren't necessarily conscious of it every day. 12 Ajmak is a great day to be doing this kind of life review, to work out what we can finally kind of like forgive so that we can move on from it. Because if we don't, we're just dragging it around, and that's kind of like preventing our wisdom from really kind of coming in. And then from 12 Ajmak, we move into the final day of the Kan Trecena with 13 Noach. So Noach representing knowledge, Noach representing intellect, intelligence, and the possibility to solve problems. And the number 13 representing the ancestors, representing spirit. So one way that we can see 13 Noach is ancestral knowledge. That's very highly indicated in there. So it's a great day to be getting in touch with that ancestral knowledge, whether it's through a course, or whether it's through a book, or whether it's through speaking with elders, or whatever it might be. 13 Noch suggests that the ancestral knowledge will be flowing freely on that day. 13 Noch might also suggest that the solution to a problem may come from an ancestor, from spirit. Now, this is also something which is, obviously an interesting place to look. Maybe there are some issues that you've got going on right now. You're not quite sure how to overcome them. Maybe tapping into the spirit of the ancestors, or kind of like asking for a reading on it or something like that, can help you to understand how to overcome them. Now, 13 Noch would suggest that the answers are coming from, kind of like the other world, as it were. So whatever form of divination you might use, 13 Noch might be an excellent day for a divination on a solution, because it might be an excellent day for the ancestors to speak very clearly through whatever divination medium you choose. Okay, so I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time for the Trecena of Kan. Thank you.